I had actually spoken to Phil, I think maybe 3 months ago. He had called me. We were talking. And, I was so happy to hear from him. He had gone through a pretty rough patch after losing his wife last year. But he was doing great, and he was getting, he was surrounded by family and friends and everybody who loved him. So hearing about his death was really quite shocking to me.
Now, he, I understand, was getting married next month. He was also in the middle of writing a new book. Did you get any indication at all that, you and I, he advised us and was a deep throat, if you will, on many stories. And that guy put himself on the line every day, especially during the Obama administration. That guy was an amazing whistleblower. And he was driven by a higher purpose. Did you get any indication at all he might have committed suicide or was thinking that way or was so depressed?
No, actually, no. There was no indication. Particularly when I remember thinking back on my conversation with him, that there was any issue whatsoever, that he was despondent or depressed. I had spoken to a very close friend of his, somebody who had actually, and I don't want to mention the name just in case it's private, but just for the idea, I can talk about it. Right after the news had broke, a very close friend of his called me and said, look, I had just spoken to Phil on Wednesday. We were talking. He was in such good spirits. Not only did we get on the phone, we were chatting back and forth in text messages. He was very excited about the future. He was excited to be married. He was really looking forward to the marriage and to his wedding. So he was very distressed. He did contact this friend of Phil Haney's, did contact the police there in Northern California who were investigating what had happened to him and spoke with them and said, look, I've been on the phone with him on Wednesday. I don't know what could have happened. He was very happy. He had no indication whatsoever that he was going through any kind of depression. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't do it, right? The police are still investigating this. I know that information came out, and they've said that this appears to be a suicide. A lot of people that I spoke to, it's very difficult to believe if it was a shotgun. I don't know if we have all the details yet. Shooting yourself in the chest is a very unusual way.
On the side of the road, pulling your car off on the side of the road.
Right. Right. And usually it's not the chest. With a shotgun, I'm guessing with a shotgun, it's heavier if it was a shotgun. But it's a very difficult situation. Let's just say it's not something that's commonly done. But we don't know. We don't know all the details. All we do know is that Philip Haney was an incredible patriot and human being who really put everything on the line to get the truth out to the American public about what was happening in the Obama administration and his long and illustrious career. This is a man who studied Arabic, who understood, the culture, who worked at the DHS and was highly recognized, given all kinds of awards for his work, helped found the Department of Homeland Security. And then everything that happened to him during the Obama administration that was so distressing, and the issues that he dealt with when it came to, and I think you'll go into that, Glenn, with me in this call, but as far as exposing what was happening, where he was asked to erase databases, loads of information in 2009, and all the information that he was asked to remove from the databases that would have helped the DHS connect the dots, particularly when it came to Islamic extremists in the United States. And he blamed the Obama administration for that. He blamed them for trying to change the narrative, for not telling the American people the truth. And he came out in full force.
I do want to get into some of the stuff that you can talk about. He was involved in whistleblowing with me on several different things, but he never, we never discussed it on the air, so I don't want to discuss it just for the estate or whatever. I just don't want to cause any problems. So can you talk about any of the things that he he did do and the impact that he made?
Well, one of the things that he did talk openly about much later in 2016, he did write an op-ed for The Hill where he talked about his career and talked a little bit about, not into the detail that I'm sure he went into with both you and I and others that he spoke to on Capitol Hill, those being senior congressional members. But he did talk in that op-ed on the Hill about what happened to him. And he talked about, the fact that they asked him to delete and modify several hundred records in what the DHS is known as the Treasury Enforcement Communication Systems database. It's called TEX, and that's how everyone knows it, the acronym TEX. So, he was asked to go in there. He was asked to alter documents. He was asked to delete documents. And mainly it was, he believed, to change this narrative and to take away this stigma when everybody was struggling with what is extremism? What does Islamist mean? What are these, particularly back in 2008, 2009, 2010, and even after the September 11th attacks? What are these extremist groups about? Who are they? Why are they so devout? And he really felt that the Obama administration was like, look, we don't want, this appears to be anti-Muslim. We don't want any of this type of narrative. And what had happened was, I don't know if everybody remembers, but to remind everyone, before there was a Christmas Day attack, there was remember the bomber on the airline. They called him the underwear bomber, and it didn't go off. Basically, the bomb did not detonate. The passengers on this plane were able to stop it. Obama became very upset in the administration and said, well, why weren't we able to connect these dots? How come we weren't able to get this, to see this in advance? And Phil Haney was like, well, because you guys deleted everything in the database that would have allowed people to connect the dots. This is not the fault of anybody at the DHS or the intelligence community. You've literally disabled us from being able to do this.